Hey everybody, this is Adam, again, and today I want to talk about ufology. Let me start out by saying, we are not alone. We've never been alone. We're not going to be alone. It's not a possibility. ET has always been here. They always will be here. They haven't gone anywhere. If anything, we're the new guys on the block. For those of you who have not done any research into the ufological field, please do so as soon as possible. There is an ocean of evidence out there, or evidence basically. To date, there is roughly about 10,000 people on the planet who are claiming to be in contact with extraterrestrials, contactees, if you will. These are not abductees. These are not people that have been taken against their will, but rather people that have actually been asked, do you want to have an open communication with our species? And they've agreed. 10,000 people. If they're all lying, that's a lot of fucking liars, and a lot of stories that had to be made up. And we know they're not made up because they correlate with each other. People from all different parts of the planet, other sides of the planet, who have never met each other, are saying the same exact things from their contactee sources. So, I'd like to jump right into the indigenous cultures. The indigenous tribes all around the planet all have stories about gods who came down from the heavens to the earth and commingled with human beings. Their stories are strikingly similar. They even have some similar flood stories, like the Noah's Ark, Epic of Gilgamesh type stories. But the most ancient civilization that is publicly recognized today is the Sumerians. Many people know about the Sumerians. The Sumerian culture existed about 6,000 BC or so. And there are over 500,000 clay Sumerian tablets, which are still being deciphered today. However, they are painting quite a interesting story in which the Sumerians talk about an even more ancient civilization that was here on the planet, in which they inherited their knowledge from, their knowledge of mathematics, their knowledge of farming, their knowledge of textiles, of banking, everything. I mean, they got it all from this even more ancient civilization and even more ancient civilizations before them. Human beings have been on this planet and have had civilizations on this planet for much longer than people think. And if anyone's interested, you can look at the research of Michael Tellinger and Johann Heine, and they have actually discovered that specific civilization the Sumerians are talking about, and it is a civilization in South Africa, well, technically the whole of Africa, that existed around 260,000 years ago, roughly. Fascinating stuff. Anyway. In the Sumerian culture, in the Sumerian tablets, they talk about what's referred to as the Anunnaki. Anunnaki literally translates to those who from heaven to earth came. And before the onslaught of Western Christianity thinking, the heavens referred to the stars. The stars. The literal fucking heavens above you. The Anunnaki, those who from heaven to earth came, are the ones that are responsible for modern civilization. They're the ones that sort of pushed us on our way. Archaeologists can't figure out how the Sumerian culture just kind of popped into existence with all this outrageous knowledge and actually seems to decrease in its technological understandings as time goes on, which doesn't make evolutionary sense if you think about it, and actually a lot of ancient cultures mimic the same thing, including the Egyptian culture. Now, they also talk about in these Sumerian tablets how the Anunnaki mated, had sex with human beings. Specifically, the male Anunnaki had sex with the female human beings, and they produced demigods, as they're referred to. They were essentially hybrid. It was a hybrid bloodline, and this hybrid bloodline is the same hybrid bloodline which is quote unquote the royal bloodline. I mean, why do think about it, people? Why do they call themselves royal? It's because of their bloodline, okay? But where did the bloodline come from? Think about it. Now, also in the Sumerian tablets, it explains that these Anunnaki genetically engineered the human species to be what it is today. In a sense, there was a native species to this planet, a native hominid species that was fucked with genetically. From what I understand, the human being is actually a conglomerate of 22 different extraterrestrial races blended into one, along with whatever indigenous native culture was here on the planet prior to the extraterrestrial invasion. Which is why that there is so much focus on our planet right now. Also, this is why there is a quarantine that was placed on the planet. For those of you that know much about Star Trek, there is something called a Prime Directive, and the Prime Directive is you do not interfere with a developing species if it has not yet achieved interstellar communication. And this is what happened to us. We are a conglomerate of 22 different extraterrestrial species, and also in our development, we were developed as a slave species. We were developed as a species used as slaves for these rogue Anunnaki groups. Now, when we're talking about extraterrestrials, what are we talking about? Are we talking about beings that live on planets that are not native to Earth? Yes. But we're also talking about beings that possibly could have evolved on this planet and have since left. And we're also talking about extra-dimensional beings, as they're referred to, which means beings that can actually move in and out of multiple dimensional realities. And I'll have to talk about that more another time. So, the main species, which I'd like to focus on, are the Greys, the Reptilians, and the Pleiadians. Now, the Greys are the typical alien you see with the big head and the big black eyes and the slit for a mouth and no nose. That's a real species. There's actually many variants of that species, just like every other species. However, it's a very interesting race. This race had stopped reproducing sexually, procreating sexually, and actually have been cloning themselves for thousands upon thousands of years, which has started to deteriorate their DNA. Their DNA is literally falling apart. And as a result, they have lost their emotional bodies, their ability to empathize with another living creature. They have lost all of that. They're basically organic robots. And they are the ones that are responsible for most of the abduction experiences, if not all of them. I think I'm running out of time on this video. I'm going to skip to part 2.